Something is happening inside the British royal family right now that has no modern precedent. Not in living memory. Not in the decades of scandal and drama and carefully managed crisis that have defined the House of Windsor since the Second World War. Something that feels, to those watching closely, to those who understand the language of royal power, an institutional signal, like the end of one era and the fragile, uncertain, deeply human beginning of another. There are 4 stories unfolding simultaneously inside that palace right now. A ghost that refuses to stop haunting the corridors. A queen whose carefully constructed world is coming apart at the seams. A princess rising, quietly, brilliantly, with a grace that the public loves and the institution is only beginning to understand. And a prince in exile on the other side of the world, who walked away from everything and is now watching from California as the family he left becomes the story he always said it was. Diana, Camilla, Catherine, Harry. 4 lives. 4 stories. 1 fractured family. And everything, absolutely everything, connects back to one woman who died in a tunnel in Paris on a summer night in 1997. Stay with me. This is the full picture. Diana, the ghost who never left. Let me start where everything starts. Diana. Her Royal Highness Princess Diana, the title, stolen from her in 1996 and not yet restored, died on August 31, 1997. She has been dead for nearly 3 decades. And she is the most present absence in the British royal family today. She is in the portrait on the wall of Windsor Castle, placed there by her son, beside Queen Elizabeth, in the hall where the monarchy's most important women are remembered. She is in the ring on Catherine's finger, the sapphire engagement ring that William chose, deliberately, specifically, as a statement that his mother would be part of every chapter of his life. She is in the work William does, the mental health, advocacy, the accessibility, the willingness to be human in a role that demands performance. She is in George's quiet depth. In Charlotte's fire. In Louis's uncontained joy. She is in Harry's break from the institution, because Harry left the royal family for reasons that trace directly back to watching what the palace did to his mother and recognizing, with a horror that he could not contain, that it was happening again. And she is in the collapse of Camilla. In every move William has made to dismantle the architecture that was built to protect the woman whose affair destroyed Diana's marriage, and, William believes, contributed to the destruction of Diana herself. Diana is everywhere. The palace thought time would diminish her. They were wrong. Time has only made her more powerful. More present. More inevitable. A ghost that does not haunt. A presence that guides. Camilla, the fall of an era. Now let me tell you about Camilla. Because the story of Camilla, honestly told, without the palace's careful framing, is one of the most extraordinary stories in modern royal history. She waited 30 years. Through the hatred and the protests and the eggs thrown at her car. Through the years when her name was synonymous with destruction, the woman who broke the fairy tale, who had the affair, who was at the center of everything that went wrong. She waited. She survived. She was rehabilitated by a palace machine that had decided, for its own institutional reasons, that accommodating Camilla was simpler than fighting her. And in 2022, when Charles became king, she became queen. She thought she had won. She had not understood something fundamental about the game she was playing. It ends when William becomes king. And William, patient, deliberate, systematic, has been making moves for years that now form the clearest possible picture of what his reign will look like and what Camilla's place in it will be. Her name was left off a royal decree signed by Charles, William, and Anne. Her access to key royal jewels, quietly revoked. Her family, Tom Parker Bowles, Laura Lopez, finding palace doors closing, invitations drying up, the informal access that came with Camilla's position being slowly, methodically withdrawn. A portrait placed on a wall she cannot face. A private confrontation in a sitting room, that sources say left her shaken in ways she had not been shaken in 30 years. A public snub at a royal event. The room going silent. The cameras catching what the palace could not contain. An ultimatum. Leave or face the truth. And then, the most devastating blow of all. Details surfacing. From Andrew Parker Bowles's circle. About Camilla's conduct during her first marriage. About what was discussed on the night Diana died. William hearing it. Breaking down. Then straightening. And deciding that patience was over. Camilla's era is not ending because the public turned against her, though many never fully accepted Catherine, the quiet rise, while the battle between William and Camilla has dominated the palace's internal atmosphere. Something else has been happening. Quietly. Brilliantly. In a way that those who focus on drama sometimes miss entirely. Catherine has been rising. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Not in the way that generates headlines and emergency palace statements. In the way that real, lasting power rises, through consistency, through grace, through the slow accumulation of public love that eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Catherine's journey inside the royal family has not been easy. The press called her Waity Katie. A decade of waiting for William to propose. Years of scrutiny, of speculation, of the particular cruelty that the British media reserves for women who dare to want something inside this world. And then she became Princess of Wales. And the world watched her become something, but the monarchy desperately needed and hadn't quite known how to ask for. Someone who combined Diana's warmth and accessibility with the institutional discipline that Diana, for all her extraordinary gifts, sometimes struggled to maintain. Catherine can walk into a room of grieving parents and make each one feel individually seen. She can sit on a hospital floor beside a sick child and not be performing, she means it. She has Diana's gift for human connection. And she has survived her home palace ordeal, the Catherine and Meghan tension, the misrepresentations, the health crisis of 2024 that she navigated with a dignity that left the watching world speechless. She came back. Stronger. More certain. More clearly herself than she had ever been. And here is what the palace is slowly understanding. In the monarchy William is building, the one that centers Diana's values, that is more human and more honest than the institution that broke his mother, Catherine is not just the future queen. She is the embodiment of what that monarchy will look and feel like. Diana's ring. Diana's warmth. Diana's belief that the crown should serve the people, not the other way around. Living. Present. On Catherine's hand, and in Catherine's choices every single day. Harry, the exile and the mirror, and then there is Harry. The spare. The second son. The one who, by the logic of the institution, was supposed to support and supplement, and never, ever overshadow. Harry left. In January 2020, in what became known as Megxit, Harry and Meghan stepped back from their roles as senior royals. They moved to Canada, then to California. They gave the Oprah interview that the palace is still recovering from. Harry wrote the memoir that said everything the palace had spent decades ensuring was never written. And the institution, and many of the public, responded with fury. He was ungrateful. Disloyal. Damaging. But here is what I need you to consider. Harry watched what the palace did to his mother. He watched it from the inside. He was 12 years old when Diana died, when the knock came at the door at Balmoral, and his father walked in and said the words no child should ever have to hear. And when he watched what was happening to Meghan, the press campaign, the palace silence, the systematic withdrawal of support, he saw his mother. Not as a metaphor. Not as a dramatic rhetorical flourish. As a literal pattern repeating. The same playbook. The same institution. The same willingness to let a woman be destroyed, rather than disrupt the comfortable order of things. Harry did what Diana could never fully do. He left. Before it finished him. Before it finished Meghan. And sitting in California now, watching from a distance as the family he left plays out the drama he always said was there, he is something complicated. He is vindicated in the way that costs too much. He is right in the way that right sometimes means you lose the family that proved your point. Harry is not the villain of this story. He is not the hero either. He is a mirror held up to the institution, showing it exactly what it is. And the reflection has not been comfortable. Meghan, the woman in the middle, you cannot tell this story without Meghan. Because Meghan was not simply a woman who married into the wrong family. She was the test. The test of whether the royal family, post-Diana, post the lessons that should have been learned, had actually changed. Had actually absorbed what Diana's life and death was supposed to teach. About what happens when you take a woman who brings something new and vital and human to the institution and put her through the machine. Meghan entered the royal family warm, capable, committed, bringing a global profile and a genuine desire to do meaningful work. And the institution, slowly, systematically, in the ways that those inside recognize, even when those outside cannot quite see it, put her through exactly what it put Diana through. The press. The silence. The denial of support. The decision, made somewhere in the palace's machinery, by people whose names we don't know, to let the narrative run. Catherine was protected. Meghan was not. That is not a judgment on Catherine. Catherine was the future queen. The institution was protecting its investment. It is a judgment on the institution, which looked at two women, assessed its interests, and chose. Meghan left with Harry. And in leaving, in choosing her family over the institution's comfort, she did something Diana could never do. William at the center of everything. Every one of these stories runs through William. He is the brother Harry misses and cannot reach. He is the husband who placed Diana's ring on Catherine's finger and carries his mother into every room he walks into. He is the future king who has looked at the institution that broke Diana and decided, methodically, patiently, with devastating precision, to reshape it from the inside. He is the man who broke down when he learned what was allegedly happening the night his mother died. Who straightened and said she deserved better than all of them. William is not a perfect person. He made choices in the Harry situation that Harry has not forgiven. The silence. The distance. The institutional gravity that pulled him toward protecting the crown over protecting his brother. He is a complicated man in an impossible position. But he is also something remarkable. He is a 15-year-old boy who walked behind his mother's coffin in front of 3 billion people, who held it together when the world expected him to break, who carried Diana's memory through 27 years of an institution that would have preferred him to manage it quietly, and who is now, inch by inch, decision by decision, decree by decree, portrait by portrait, refusing to let her be forgotten. Refusing to let the institution write its own version of her story. Insisting, through every move he makes, but the truth is more durable than any palace machine ever built. Let me bring you back to where we started. 4 stories. 1 family. Diana, the ghost who became more powerful in death than the institution could ever manage in life. Present in a ring, a portrait, 3 children, and the future king she raised. Camilla, the woman who thought she had won. Who is discovering, in the most personal and irreversible of ways, that the game does not end when you wear the crown. Catherine, rising. Quietly. Brilliantly. Carrying Diana's warmth into a future that Diana never got to see but somehow feels in everything Catherine does. Present. And Harry, in California with his wife and his children. Achilles and Lilibet. Free. Winded. watching. The mirror the institution cannot put down. One woman connects all of them. One woman who died too young, in a tunnel, in Paris on a summer night when she was finally building the life she had always deserved. She did not get to finish it. But look at what she left behind. A son who is becoming the king she always believed the monarchy needed. A grandson who will one day sit on the throne, carrying her name, her blood, her values, into a century she never lived to see. A granddaughter with her fire and her warmth, and the fearlessness that the palace spent years trying to contain in Diana, and will never manage to contain in Charlotte. And a story. The most extraordinary, most enduring, most impossible to bury story in the history of the British monarchy. Hers. Still being told. Still unfolding. Still refusing, after everything, to end. How are you finding the channel? Have these stories landed the way you hoped? I want to know what you think. Drop a comment, tell me which character in today's story you felt most for. Because this is not just a royal drama. It is a story about love. About power. About what happens when an institution tries to contain